Good morning. Welcome to Unity Longmont Spiritual Center on March 7th, 2021. It's a beautiful day here. And I will be speaking later, and we are blessed to have Clint Brown and Connie Schaefer to provide music. And so we'll start with Connie and Clint.
This is a song that was a spiritual, and Connie did some research on this, and it was reportedly sung by slaves during the Civil War, and a hard subject, but very uplifting. Down by the riverside. I'm gonna lay down my burden
down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm gonna lay down my burden down by the riverside. Study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Study war no more. I'm gonna put on my long white robe down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Gonna put on my long white robe down by the riverside. Study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Study war no more. I'm gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside. Study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Study war no more.
And an alternate title of that is Study War No More. So Connie pointed out it's a pacifist song, has become.
Thank you for the music and the history, Connie and Clint. And it's at this time that we go into prayer together by taking a breath. Beloved presence, God, Spirit, universe, it matters less what we call you and more that we know you. And in knowing you, we are able to express love and peace, kindness, compassion, and so much more. For that and every breath, we are grateful. And so it is. We'll have music.
This is a song that's often sung at the beginning of Unitarian Universalist services, called Spirit of Life, by Carolyn McDade. Spirit of life, come unto me, sing the stirrings of compassion blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Thank you. Ah, yes, Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. I am a little anxious, a little nervous about my talk today because I'm not sure quite where it's going. And what I am planning to share with you is my current befuddlement, which is part of my spiritual growth. And I share it because I imagine I'm not the only person that has gone through befuddlement. And I also know, and I have said for many, many years, confusion precedes enlightenment. So please join me in my confusion, and hopefully we'll get to some enlightenment. So I ask you to co-create this with me. And I will start with a small reading from Kahil Gibran, Wisdom and I. In the silence of the night, wisdom came into my chamber and stood by my bed. She gazed upon me like a loving mother, dried my tears, and said, I have heard the cries of your soul and have come here to comfort you. Open your heart to me, and I shall fill it with light. Ask, and I shall show you the path of truth. I complied with her bidding. And so we invite wisdom into our meeting. So, as always, take what serves you and leave the rest. Some of you who know me very well know that I often say I am going to be thinking with my mouth. So we'll see what comes out and if there's anything of use to each of us. I have been taking Unity courses toward ordination, and the first one that I took fed me so much. It was the Christ, and it was taught through Unity of Atlanta. One of the benefits of this pandemic is I can take classes from anywhere. And when I joined that class, there were 21 students from around the country. And it was a 5-week course based on The Universal Christ by Richard Rohr. I'd read that book over a year ago, and it completely shifted my belief system. With great comfort, for in that book, in the work that Richard Rohr shares with us, God is universal, personal, and relational. So through that work and past experiences, I really felt as though my relationship with God had become more steadfast, more trusting, more of an exchange of energy, etc. Is a beautiful experience. And then, so that's on this hand. And then I started 5 weeks ago a class called Metaphysics 1. It's a unity requirement. And we just had our last class Saturday. The first 3 classes, I struggled with the language. I found it was enrapturing. I just wanted to hold it and eat it and taste it and digest it. But when it hit my digestion system, all of a sudden I found that it wasn't going through so easily. So I'm going to share how this befuddlement is showing up in me. Because on the one hand, I have this, and on the one hand, I have that. And I share this in part because we are unity. And unity is open to all beliefs. However you come to unity is perfect. You are loved, you are respected and accepted. So I feel confident in sharing this with unity. There's a word that I was introduced to in a book group when we read Lessons in Truth by Emily Cady a number of months ago. It's an old-fashioned word, and Unity Publishing had actually taken it out of her book for a period of time, and then they've put it back in. The word is chemicalization, and it's similar to what we experience, where what it is when we are experiencing something new, meeting something old, and there's a chemicalization that is happening within our consciousness. And so it can show up in our behaviors, in our attitudes, in our language, in our body, as befuddlement, as anxiety, as confusion, all of these things that we tend to think of as negative experiences. And yet, with the theory of chemicalization, all that is good news because something is being transformed. So I'm sitting here breathing, chemicalizing, and trusting that there is some transformation going on. So that's on the one hand with the metaphysics. On the other hand, having been a psychotherapist and a spiritual coach and teacher for a long time, what I see as driving us through that transformation is personal growth. So I've got a little bit of whiplash right now, going from universal personal God to something I never, ever expected. And that is laws and principles and powers that are God. And some of the confusion for me comes from using the same word to mean so many different things, God. So let's look at some of these differences. The metaphysical language is chosen to prevent us from anthropomorphizing God, because that's what we do as children. You know, we're 5, 6, 7, and God is an old man with a white beard, and he's benevolent, he's grandfatherly, and that sits with our consciousness at that time. And then as we grow and mature, that gets more hazy and more fluid and more abstract. Well, metaphysics takes it to something very concrete, that God is law, and that law is absolute and unchanging. The part that has been especially adding to my chemicalization is that God does nothing. That God, the absolute God of law, principle, and power, does nothing. It doesn't change. It just is, and it's everywhere present. And because it's everywhere present, and we are both divine and human, we are the doers. We are the ones that draw on those principles such as faith, love, life, the vitality of it. And then we draw on the powers such as wisdom and zest and joy. And so all of this, as I was learning it, seemed kind of clinical, kind of like a flow chart. I was suffering, I was grieving the loss of that beautiful, benevolent God that I just spent a year or more with, and reluctant to embrace this other that I think in images and I kind of see it as a bunch of concrete. So these laws are like the law of gravity. Gravity doesn't do something, it just is. And we can learn to live with it, or we can go to the moon. So I'm still trying to figure all this out. So thank you for coming on this journey with me of befuddlement. So on this hand, I was really learning and experiencing the ability to lean on beloved presence. Some of you may have noticed that's how I start my prayers, beloved presence, because it's something I feel, it's something I experience. Okay, now I am invited to have faith in absolute truth, the absolute that doesn't change, that isn't personal, that isn't relational. Over here, I have had a sense for a long time that God, like all of us and like the world we know, is always evolving, always growing and shifting and changing, and that we participate in that. And that by being what we have called co-creators in the past, that our choices, our behavior, our thinking, our feeling help define or encourage that evolution of God. We somehow participated in that. Okay, then on the other side over here, a reminder, we are the doers. God does not do. God does not give us. God does not take away from us. God does not judge us. All of that is over here and in past religious views. So over here, when things got difficult, I would say, and I would hear, God has a plan. There is such a thing as divine timing. That was comforting. That took pressure off of me to think that I don't see the whole thing, so I'm just going to have to trust that God has a plan. Well, if God doesn't do, God doesn't have a plan. We are the planners. In the old religions that still exist, God was seen as all-powerful and often referred to as God Almighty. And Richard Rohr has a wonderful video on why we don't say God Almighty, in part because in that system, God is mighty and vulnerable. And the vulnerability shows up two ways. On the cross, which Unity doesn't usually talk about, and in the belief that God experiences our suffering with us. When I learned that a little over a year ago, to think that this beloved, mighty being would suffer with me, that took away my aloneness. That took away my isolation and has served me during this pandemic so much. Over here, God again is unchanging. It is up to us to access those laws and utilize them and express them through us using our consciousness. And in the metaphysical explanation, we go through different levels of consciousness, and that is true in psychology, it's true in spirituality. We go through these different levels of consciousness, and they identify four. Two of those levels of consciousness have the locus of control outside of ourselves on God. So God does this, God does that. And then the next one is we do it with God. Sounding familiar here? The other two, the locus of control is within us. So the highest level of that consciousness is vessel consciousness is the next highest. That's where we do it with God and we are responsible. So it's similar to the other one. But the highest level, veritas or truth consciousness, it's all on us. It is a radical self-responsibility belief system. Because we do it all, we are needing to learn how. How do we do it all? And we have these human minds. And I don't know about yours, but my mind loves to worry. Way back when I was studying psychology, I was so relieved to find that there is a worry gene. It's not my damn fault. I got a worry gene, as did my mother, my grandmother, my daughters, as do many dogs. It's the same gene. Am I responsible for that gene? I am responsible in either system for dealing with that gene and managing it. Over here, God helps. Over here, I am God. I am God. So I was thinking about a few experiences I've had and how I kind of understand them here and understand them there. Early 90s, I started going through a real development of intuition. And it was powerful, it was exciting, it felt magical, and it continued. And as Carolyn May says, as it continues, you start to think you're losing something because it just becomes such the norm for you. So I acknowledge I am an intuitive person. And so I would have a sense of slow down because there's a cop around the curve. Might never have been on that road, but I'd go around the curve and there's the cop and I was going the speed limit. 2 years ago here, I kept getting the message, go to Michael's, go to Michael's. And some of you know this story. And I kept saying, it's too late. I'm tired. I'll go tomorrow. Go to Michael's, go to Michael's. So as I normally do, I finally gave in and I went to Michael's and I had a remarkable and meaningful experience of meeting a young man who was dying and had the most remarkable attitude about life and death. And he touched me as an angel. And so I'm not going to go into the length of that story, but it was a powerful experience because I listened to that voice, which I am assuming came from who? God, right? Okay, well, for a long time, especially after this intuition started to develop, I would wonder, am I knowing or am I causing? Am I knowing or am I causing? I was going for a walk in the woods behind my house with a friend, And we were doing a mindfulness walk. So it was very slow, and all the animals would stay where they were. We could see deer and snake and all kinds of things. And there was a little bit of a hillock, and I looked, and there was the head of a turtle sticking up over it. And I turned to my friend and I went, and we looked, and the turtle rolled backwards, head over heels down the hill. Did I know, or did I cause that? I really wanted to just know. Another one was I got a gift box for my birthday. And even before picking it up, I knew something was broken in there. I didn't know what was in there, but it was broken. So I opened it up, and there are 6 beautiful cups with spoons that fit in the handle, and one of the handles is broken off of a cup. Did I know, or did I cause? I was hoping I knew. Um, Friday morning, I woke up and I wasn't feeling so good. And so I wasn't really looking forward to book group. And I had heard from 2 people that they would not be attending. I had not heard from the others. So I signed on to book group, and I'm like, I just would really like to lie down. I'd like to lie down. And so 10 minutes in, nobody shows up. So I go lie down. Did I know it, or did I cause it? What I learned later is that one person showed up about 5 minutes after I left. So I neither knew it nor caused it. But um, as I said to y'all a few weeks ago, I would love for us to have a social event on Zoom where we can laugh and be with each other and just have a good time. And so I started researching some of that online. What games could we play? How do we do that? And I wouldn't get very far with my research because I kept encountering what I was perceiving as barriers. So I just kept throwing this out there. A few days ago, I got an email from this woman saying that she holds or facilitates fun events on Zoom, among other things. And are we interested? So I checked with the board, and we're moving forward. I have a meeting with this woman on Thursday, and I will let you guys know what comes of that. Did I know, or did I cause it? I don't know. So, but I'm grateful for it. So in class, the 4th class of Metaphysics 1, something really struck me. And that is the recognition that because of all this law, principle, and powers, I had the law of attraction backwards. I always thought that what we desire, we attract to us. And it's the reverse in metaphysics. And the example was, we think of Jesus as being giving his Sermon on the Mount, that he attracted those people to him, that he attracted the loaves and fishes. But in the metaphysics, what is believed is that all of those people had a need, had a longing for something more gentle, for something new, something needs they weren't getting met. And so therefore they attracted him to them. Maybe that doesn't sound like a big deal, but having been in private practice as a psychotherapist and promoting my services and desiring to have clients that could use my service come to me, that attracting them to me felt heavy at times. Same thing as a spiritual teacher, as a teacher of classes that I taught. And so the shift of trying this on of, what if I don't have to attract people to me for what I might offer, but that they have to attract me to them, and I need to pay attention? There's a relief in that. So yay, over here has a good thing for me going here. And I'm still in befuddlement with the whole. One of the things that we looked at in metaphysics is the unity way of praying. And there are 5 steps, as most of us probably know. And one of them is the step of realization that all of a sudden something bubbles in you and you know something without any evidence of it. You just know it. So I think some of my conundrum now is that my knowing that God was with me just because that's what God does versus God is in me and usable, that knowing hasn't shifted yet. So how do I get there? First of all, I think I have to just be okay. I have to just be okay and find peace with this lack of peace. Find an acceptance of what is. And isn't that true in every moment of our lives? We have to accept who we are, what we are experiencing, and then from there we can do something about it. The who and what. In the metaphysics, who we are is human divine. The what we are is we are God. I invite you just for a moment to be aware, to maybe even say to yourself, I am God, and see what comes up. See if some old belief systems from childhood, from adolescence, from young adulthood come up. See if something else comes up on the other side of, wow, what an opportunity, what a responsibility. I don't know what's coming up for each of you, but it may be important for you to know. So, what do I know? What are the realizations I still hold? I still believe all is evolving and we participate in that evolution. That hasn't changed for me. I still believe that before I incarnated into this life, I knew much more than I know now. And I made choices to be here and to be doing this. So I still trust that. I still know that life and relationships have great meaning to me. I still know that individually, each of us will continue to evolve and transform. It's what we do. It's part of who and what we are. And I think I am beginning to know that we are attracted to what we desire. We are attracted to what we desire. And I think we need to pay attention to that. So I'd like to share a Rumi quote and then say a brief spontaneous prayer. Rumi, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Beloved presence, I am so grateful to have membership in this community where I can freely explore beliefs, where I can share those, where I can hear from others their own beliefs, where together we can find comfort, we can find meaning, we can create peace and love and share that, whether it be virtually or eventually in person. However we do this, I am grateful. And so it is. And so now I would invite us to go through a short meditation by taking several breaths. And if you're willing to, play with breathing to the count of 6 inhalation and count of 6 exhalation for a second. And focus now, if you are willing, on breathing through your heart. With each breath, be aware that as you inhale love through your heart. And as you exhale love to be shared. And if you're willing, imagine someone you love. It can be a person, an animal, a place, something you love so strongly it stirs your heart. And as you hold in your mind's eye and imagination this person or this place, this being, allow the love from your heart to be beamed to that person or being or place. And as you continue to breathe, notice what you're feeling. And you may notice this resource of love is never ending. It's always available for you and those you love. And so it is. And Clint and Connie will provide us with music.
Michael rowed the boat ashore, hallelujah. Michael rowed the boat ashore, hallelujah. Sister, help to trim the sails, hallelujah. Sister, help to trim the sails, hallelujah. Jordan's river is deep and wide, hallelujah. I've got a home on the other side, hallelujah. Michael's boat is a music boat, hallelujah. Michael's boat is a music boat, hallelujah. Trumpets sound the jubilee, hallelujah. Trumpets sound for you and me, hallelujah. Michael rowed the boat ashore, hallelujah. Michael rowed
Thank you, Connie and Clint. And let us together do a brief donation of love and light. And in this one, we will take a breath together. We'll place our hands on our heart. And rather than choosing who to send this love and light out to, let us just express it, and whoever needs it can attract it to them. And we know that we can do this at any time with just a conscious choice. And so it is. And we'll finish with a piece of music, please.
So I wanted to do a song that kind of fit with March, and I guess March 17th. And so it's, sometimes I do a social action song or social justice, and I thought, well, actually I'm doing a song now about a group of immigrants who were hated, reviled, persecuted during the 19th century. And I'm talking about the Irish, which seems ludicrous today, and I guess the Italians and just about everyone who is new. So this is a fun little Irish song. When Irish eyes are smiling, sure it's like a morning spring. In the lilt of Irish laughter, you can hear the angels sing. When Irish hearts are happy, all the world seems bright and gay. And when Irish eyes are smiling, sure they'll steal your heart away. When Irish eyes are smiling, sure it's like a morning spring. In the lilt of Irish laughter, you can hear the angels sing. When Irish hearts are happy, all the world seems bright and gay. And when Irish eyes are smiling, sure they'll